Episode 6, week 6
Yeah.
of doing this.
Welcome back.
We got our regular mic set up.
Yeah.
Back to normal.
Back to normal. No guest.
No guests this week. Kind of doing this a little short notice, but
Yeah.
that's all right. I think good thought comes from that. Jake's going to be gone for a while, so we're going to pre-record a couple of them.
Potentially more than a month. Yeah.
So we're going to have to figure something out.
Yeah.
It tastes like coffee. I guess because there's been coffee in this cup before.
That's the same. I didn't wash it from last week.
Well,
That's probably gross.
It's done it like that before. Dude, don't worry about it because my water bottles,
You just don't.
it's straight water.
Yeah, I mean.
Anywho, how you been since
Oh,
past couple days since we recorded?
it's been good. I've been working up to the day that I leave for a month or more. Not looking forward to it. A lot of nerves about it because I'm not just leaving for a month to do my job. Mm-hmm. I'm leaving for a month to do a job that I've never done, and I'm supervising a crew, which will be different. I think I know my best leadership strength is just leading by example and kind of service. Hopefully that'll be enough. My boss told me to buy them breakfast on Mondays, so I'll win them over by that, and they'll work real hard for me. Maybe I hope. I kid you not, I've got a stack this tall of prints in the truck, just blueprints.
Really? You got to build all of them?
Master copies. Yep. Well, they're all built. They just gotta get them together.
Yeah.
Hopefully I think the guy was Armenian. I'm not sure. I think I heard him say that.
Yeah.
But I stopped in to get the prints today because it's taken them 2 days to print all these prints. It's size A paper, and they ran out of ink 3 times.
Golly.
Yeah. And but I stopped by today, and they happened to be loading the truck. It was seriously sketchy, and it's just these it's just aluminum, like 40 mil by 40 mil. And they've got these little corner brackets. It's real, like, stupid simple to put it together. Like, we've had all kinds of people helping us in there and sticking that stuff together. It's just little bolts, and there's these Lexan covers, and kind of like plexiglass. It's kind of shock absorbent, but it'll still crack, and you can't bend it too much. It's this stuff's actually fire retardant. Which is interesting. I don't know why, but it's a battery plant.
Yeah.
That's probably some of it. Apparently those batteries can explode. Really sketchy. I think I told you about that yesterday. Yeah. Me and Gabe went to Winchester yesterday. I appreciate him going with me.
You get hazard pay for that?
No, but I get per diem and stuff while I'm out. So that helps.
Yeah.
But the trucker that showed up, we designed the pallets so that you could just strap the pallets down and then throw like a really small strap over the whole thing. Yeah. And he had 3 big straps on the first pallet whenever I got there. And just right over top of them, and he cranked them down, dude. And it busted out a sheet of Lexan, and we had like little 1x2 pieces of wood. Yep. Spaced them apart so they don't scratch or anything, and they broke like half of them probably. So all these pieces are going to rub together the whole way to North Carolina. Going like this. All those hills. But I'll figure it out whenever I get there tomorrow. Yeah. It'll be good.
Yeah. What time are you leaving tomorrow?
Early. I got to stop by the shop and get some fab parts and haul down there because they have to get installed too. Yeah. We can't ship them on there or else they'd be really weird to ship. Yeah. Might get bent and broken, but that's all right. Yeah.
Well, it's exciting time, big opportunity for you.
It's a big opportunity.
I'm glad you're taking advantage of it.
I think I'll get to prove my abilities. Yeah. At least I'll try. Sometimes that's all you can do is try. Yeah. And
let's see. We just talked. I guess in real time, it's been what, 2 days since our last podcast that we recorded. Yeah. We recorded Saturday. Today's Monday, St. Patrick's Day.
Whoop, whoop.
wearing green.
Not wearing
You're
green.
going to get pinched over there if you ain't careful.
Get pinched.
But I just got back from track practice, and it was we got our first meet tomorrow in Shelby County. Long haul, hour and a half away. And I think it'll be fun. It'll be an experience to say the least. There's a lot of good schools there, I'm pretty sure. And hopefully we're fast enough to win a couple of races and do all right and jump far in the long jump and throw the shot put and all that crap and throw it pretty good. But I'm excited for it. Hopefully it'll be all right. I kind of wanted to talk about last night a little bit. Sunday night, I ran 18 miles. Longest run I ever did as part of my marathon training. The longest run I'm going to do for part of my training is 20 miles. And so this one came up, and it kind of scared me. It was intimidating all week. Did you get that video that I sent you?
Yeah, it's on TikTok.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to look at it. But that video that we posted on TikTok kind of was the culmination. What's that word?
Accumulation
of all my thoughts of what was going in and how all that went. But I started. It was kind of cold. I started about 7:30 last night, and I got done at 10:10. So I was running for maybe I started
2 hours 40 minutes.
No, I was running for 2:20. I might have went at 7:50.
I might have messed up math.
I don't know, but I ran for 2 hours and 20 minutes last night, and just a lot of thoughts were going through my mind. I started a podcast the other day while I was running. It was just two idiots talking back and forth. It wasn't us.
Glad you were listening to us. Oh,
It wasn't us. But then I listened to our podcast with Andrew on it from last week, and I just kind of put me in a good space, and I could kind of just zoned out for a little bit, but still paying attention, but like having productive thoughts, because the whole day I was like dreading. Oh, I gotta do this. Oh, I gotta do this. Oh, I gotta do this, and it just finally got to the point. I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. Like because I was thinking, I'm like, before that run, I'm like, do I just want to do 2 miles a night and just call it quits? But it was just one of them. We've talked about it before. One of them 1 second decisions, one of them game time decisions. Like, all right, we're just gonna go out. We're just gonna do our best. And so I started off and just kind of put my headphones in, head down, and just took off going. And the first hour, it kind of felt like it flew by, because I've run that route so many times that I know where the route in Irvin or down like Main Street, River Drive, I've run it so many times. I know like what mile marker is at what spot. So I've run from steam engine to go time. That's a 1.2. Turn around, back at go time, 2.4. Or turn around, go back to steam engine, 2.4. So I've got that in my mind. Go to El Ranchito. All right, turn back around, 6.4 miles, because it's 2 miles and back. So I get my first lap done. I'm like, well, that's 6 miles. That's easy money, So I'm like, well, let's just kind of do another one. Then I went up and turned back around and just kind of zoned out. I'm like, well, there's 13 miles right there. And I'm still feeling good. Then, and that was right after I recorded that video that we posted on TikTok. Then around mile 15, my legs started hurting a little bit. That's when I first started feeling like the pain of actually running. Yeah. And because that whole run, I didn't feel any pain. I was just at a constant. I think I was like at an 8-minute pace, maybe a little under that. No, let me pull it up from yesterday. It's like I was running 8:06, 8:01, 8:16 one time. Like my first half marathon was about an 8-minute pace, and then I hit mile 13, and I kind of started picking it up a little bit. 742, mile 15, 746. That's when my legs really started hurting. And I'm like, well, I'm at mile 15 right now. Legs are hurting. I just got a 5K left. I got 3 miles left. There's this guy on TikTok I watch. His name's Andy, and he just runs like the ultra marathons.
Yeah.
And he always says 5K left. Your mom can run a 5K. I'm like, well, and he's like, anybody can go run a 5K. So that was the kind of mentality I had. Then I went out and got a 740 16 mile and a 734 17 mile and a 725 18th mile. So I just kind of stuck my head down and just went out and got after it. And it was so rewarding doing that because, I mean, it's pitch black outside. It's like 9, 10 o'clock when this is happening. At 9 o'clock when I was out here running it. It was kind of cold. I had my sweatshirt on. I had shorts on, so it wasn't like freezing cold. But you're just out there and you're just alone. And you're by yourself. And there's hardly any cars going up and down the road. There's usually no one else on the sidewalks. Every now and then you'll pass somebody. But you're just out there. It's just you and your own thoughts. And I kind of talked about it in the video a little bit. It's like, well, I've got this 2.5 hours. I'm gonna be out on the road, just in my own head by myself, kind of just working. And I could use that time kind of as, well, let's just pass away the 2.5 hours. Let's just try to speed through this as fast as I can. Or I can use it as a productive time. Yes, I'm out running, so no matter what my mind was thinking, my body was going to be productive. But I was out there and I was trying to focus on things and focus my thoughts on good things and focus my thoughts on where I've come and where I've come from, where I've been, what I've been through, and just thinking on, just kind of reflecting, really. I was just kind of reflecting on what's been going on here recently, my past experiences, reflecting on this and that, and trying to have good, positive thoughts. And I was listening to our podcast, and just there was good stories being told there, and I was just positive coming in. Then once that podcast was over, I put on some music, and it was just good, uplifting type music, and just songs that I really enjoy. And so that just set my mind away. And I'm thinking this whole time, I often say a little prayer. I'm like, God, please protect me on this part of the run. It's like if I'm like switching, like crossing the road or doing this or that, I've often say, God, please protect me. And I feel like even when I'm not actually, talking to God, I feel like I'm just thinking about it and having that, just, it's like you can almost feel it,
Mm-hmm.
you can just feel it. And that experience last night was something that was really cool. And I'm thinking as I'm crossing the courthouse and I see the finish line of where I stop, I see my car and I stop and I just kind of stop running, because for 2 hours and 20 minutes, I mean, I'm constantly go, go, go. I stop and I look down my watch. It says 18 miles. I hit end and I just kind of sit there and I kind of bend over, and just a flow of just emotions just come over me like I never felt. And I'm like, who would have thought it? That's what just kept repeating in my mind. I was even saying it out loud. Like there's no one else. It's 10 o'clock at night and I'm just saying it out loud. Who would have thought it? Who would have thought that I'd been able to do this? Who would have thought it? And I was telling myself, like 3 years ago, I'd have never.
Yeah.
3 years ago, I would have never done this. And I just started thinking about where I was, especially at this time 3 years ago, going into baseball season, senior year. And that was just kind of like a point in my life. It's like, it was just kind of sad. I don't know. I just kind of felt sad at that point in my life. And I was like, 3 years ago, this time 3 years ago, who would have thought it? I was 285, 290 pounds probably. Might have been pushing 300, who'd have known, because I quit stepping on the scale. But And I'm thinking, this time 3 years ago, who would have thought that I'd been where I'm at now? I just ran 18 miles, you know. And I'm sitting there, and I sit down where I normally sit, just kind of rest. There's the clock there by that little music shop across from Steam Engine.
Yeah.
And there's that little concrete place you can sit down there.
Yeah.
I sit down there and I just started crying. Like it was a crazy experience because I was just overwhelmed with emotions, and I just sat there and I just started crying. I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, this is just absolutely insane that I was able to do what I just did. And I truly felt like I had 8 more miles in me that night of good, hard, just because I was thinking to myself, I'm like, if this is how I feel right now after doing 18 miles, I definitely know I had 8 more in me. Well, we still got a month and a half almost until the marathon of actual training and actual preparation to do. So how am I going to feel then? I'm going to be able to push it that much harder come the marathon. And that's just what I was thinking of last night. And last night just was a very big victory for me. It was just it was really, because oftentimes I'd do these runs and I'm like, well, we got it done. We got it out of the way. But last night I was really sitting there. I'm like, I've accomplished something so far. And I'm not reached my final goal yet of April 26th, but so far I've accomplished something pretty cool.
It's awesome.
So
you've been on quite the transformation.
Mm-hmm.
It's been really interesting to watch. And again, every time we look at your running splits, the closer you get to pushing your limits, the harder you're going. I think that's really interesting. Usually I'll run and I'll kind of compensate and I'll be like, okay, my legs are like giving out. Or really, like I'm really feeling it. My legs not giving out. Or like if I think I ran 3 miles. No, we ran 2 miles the other day, and it was like the first 2-mile run I've done in a while. And I was like, okay, I can slow down a little bit for the rest of this mile. And it's just interesting that you're pushing your boundaries way farther than I am, realistically. But whenever you get to that boundary, you've got more energy now.
Yeah.
And I doubt that's how you started, but
it's interesting because I've been, even today, it's like it takes me so much longer to get going, just because I guess I just am so worn down all the time from this constant just beating your body down for an hour a day, just constant moving, and then like today I ran 2 miles around the track because it was my rest day, and I ran at like an 8:50 pace, like it was slow, and because my legs were just hurting. But even like the first 2 laps around the track were hard, but then this last 6 were easy because I just finally got moving and got used to it again. But even last night, it took me a while to kind of get going. But once I got going, I just kind of hit that groove and just stayed in it. And it's funny, though, because when I'm running, it's like my lungs and my breathing and my heart rate, that never bothers me. Like, it never hurts to breathe. It never hurts to my heart's never getting too high. It's never respiratory struggles when I'm running. It's always my legs starting to hurt. And so I'm like, well, I can control my legs easier than I can control my lungs. So if my lungs aren't killing me, then I can still push my legs to go a little farther because they don't hurt as bad as when the lungs start hurting.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just where I've built up the endurance for it. But I've noticed that on my runs. Like today I ran, and I didn't even get out, like, even when yesterday, I was never out of breath. Like, never.
It's crazy.
On my run last
I
night.
want to know what your VO2 max is.
It's like 63.
Huh.
I think. Let me look at it. But, like, because my watch keeps track of it. 63.7.
It's crazy.
That's pretty high.
Yeah.
Let's look at it back in March 24, it was, so this time last year it was 58.6.
Wow.
Now it's 68 or 63.7. Let's see. April 2023, 44.9. November or August 2022, 40. So I've bumped my VO2 max
It's nuts.
up crazy numbers. But anywho, it's like I don't feel like breathing wise, I don't get tired, but my legs hurt a lot, towards the end, but that's just a mental battle that I go through. I'm like, well, I can control my legs better than my heart rate and stuff. But anywho, I just kind of wanted to talk about that run and that stuff because it was just kind of like, it felt like an achievement for me. Because like 3 years ago, I never would have thought I'd been able to do what I just did. And like I just sat there and was just overwhelmed with emotions. And yeah. So, you got any ideas over there? I got another idea we can talk about.
Well, you jump right into it, man. If you're flowing.
Let me get a drink of water.
I'll feed off of you today.
Okay. But I was thinking about it. I'm like, the growth mindset of it, coming from where I was to where I am now. And we even looked at this trend. Well, I looked at it when I was talking about it. This trend for the cardio fitness. I mean, it's just constantly going up, constant trend of going up. So I was thinking about it, and I wrote this down. I guess it was either last night or today when I wrote it down. I can't remember. But just the constant growth in my life and how I've tried to just constantly grow is very, very interesting to me. Because I look back at myself, even this time last year, I'm like, I can see improvements in just the way I act, the way I go about things, the way I do things, the way I treat other people. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging or anything, but I've just seen these improvements in myself, and it really, I'm just kind of looking back at it, and I'm like, I've set a goal to work to improve myself, and I guess finally now I'm starting to see those improvements. And I think it's good that we as people always try to strive for that constant growth. Because I mean, with the way we act, the way we treat others, the way we do things, I mean, we always want to get better and better and better. And we talked about it on the podcast last week. Andrew talked about it, about having that beast inside of you, right? Mm-hmm. If you feed the beast, it'll grow. Well, if you starve it, it'll shrink. So if you're always putting stuff into wanting to grow, wanting to improve, well, it will. You'll start to improve. You'll start to see things, or see those improvements in yourself. So I think just the constant growth and constant improvements in our lives and all these things that we can work for, pretty cool. That I feel like I'm starting to see them now.
Yeah.
So,
how much more motivation does that bring? Seeing the benefits.
Yeah. Last night I felt like I would run through a brick wall.
I bet.
Like, I felt very motivated and just in every aspect of my life. It was crazy because I'm like, I felt like I could do anything. Mm-hmm. Like, I felt like I was in complete control of my body. I was in complete control of my mind. I was just like, because a lot of times we don't feel like that, right? A lot of times we feel out of control. We feel that we're either tempted by things or some things you just can't control. Some things that sometimes things go wrong and you can't do anything about it. And sometimes this bad thing happens, sometimes whatever. But last night, just that culmination of a bunch of good things happening for me, I felt like I was in control of my mind. I felt like I was in control of just everything. I just felt amazing last night. And that was just a really cool experience because like the podcast was doing, like we recorded that podcast and we posted it and it got so many more views than like it normally would. And like people were texting me about it. People were saying they really enjoyed it. And there's just all these, it just felt like our hard work with this and my work with the running and just all the work in general that I've put in the past few years is finally starting to pay off a little bit, you know? And that's just really neat to see. But I don't want to sit here and sound like I'm like bragging about it or anything.
I don't think you're bragging.
Because I don't want to be like, oh, I'm this much better than whoever because I ran 18 miles last night. Because I feel like oftentimes that I'll like to post on social media and people might see that and think that. But the reason I do that is post and talk about it is to hold myself accountable. You know, because if I'm not holding myself accountable, I mean that's one of our core values is accountability. If it's just me that knows I'm doing something, whether it's good or bad, that thing is not gonna, you know, it's not gonna get good. You know, I don't know. It's just interesting.
Not gonna get well. You kind of talked about the Kaizen concept. It's a Japanese concept. It's really big in manufacturing, but it's a good thing to learn about for anybody. Learn about Kaizen. Kaizen's just it means constant growth and constant improvement. Every day you try to get better. At Toyota, my company does a lot of Kaizen projects, and there's a whole lot of paperwork that our customers have to go through. I guess it's a lot of just explaining why whatever they're doing is improving their process. So if a company as big as Toyota puts that much effort into recording their Kaizen or improvement process, you can kind of just swap improvement for Kaizen. If they put that much work into recording their improvement process, I think that means a lot because that's a big company. They do a lot.
Yeah.
Started with a loom. You know that?
Started with a loom?
The loom, the automated loom.
Huh.
ESG Toyota. Toyota, the company was started by Toyota, the family.
Oh.
And there's actually a Toyota city in Japan. Really neat. That's random. But, what else? What else did you talk about that I had? I think it's just interesting. I've seen some growth personally. I guess I'm hoping to see some growth in North Carolina. I've learned a lot the past couple of years with work, and hopefully I get to see some growth, and hopefully it's noticeable and measurable that I can kind of prove my abilities with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I had it again and I lost it. It's frustrating.
Yeah, I know it. But we sitting here and we're talking about growth and constantly growth, but I feel like we really haven't talked about how to grow.
Yeah.
You know, we're always talking about, well, what is our podcast? It's the goal of the podcast is to provide a resource of education stream to anyone interested in self-improvement and further development. I feel like, you know, we always talk about it, but we never go into the how part.
We need to get better about that.
You want to go into it right now?
Shoot, we can try.
We can try.
We can always try. I mean, there's
Let's try to go into it a little bit. How to self-improve? Well, I think the first thing with anything you want to do,
identification.
You need to identify it. You
Yeah.
need to set a goal, right? So whether it be weight loss or whether it be, you know, going to the gym or getting better at your job or reading the Bible, or reading the Bible more or just whatever, it's really setting that goal. And I got an example of this. It's like Parker Hall. You know him?
Yeah.
I've been texting him a little bit, and he was talking about how he's lost like 30, 40 pounds in like 6 weeks.
I've seen his TikToks.
And
I'm really proud of him.
And he told me, he said by the time that his birthday hits, he wants to be a certain weight.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a very reasonable and very good goal to have. So he set that goal for himself. So I think for what we need to do or for whatever, it's like for me, I'm wanting to run this marathon in a certain time. So I've set this goal for myself. That's the first thing I did. I found the goal. I'm like, all right, let's find a plan that'll match this goal. So I set this plan of I want to run a 3:30 marathon. So let me find a plan. So I set the goal. I think the next step is to find a plan, right? So for me, I went online, just a quick Google search, set the goal, find the plan. So I get online, I'm like, marathon training plan, 3:30 time. And I'm scrolling through and I find the Boston Marathon website.
Yeah.
Like, well, the Boston Marathon, that's the biggest marathon in the world. That's, it's a good resource. So I get on there and I find the time that I want to run, and it has a chart of this is how many miles you need to run in a week. This is like how fast you need to do them, how this, that. And so it's got me running like 50 miles a week, I think. 50, 60 miles a week. I don't even know. But I just follow that chart every day. I'm like, all right, this is what I have to do today. All right, let's do it. So just following that plan and having the discipline to stick to it, right? Because if you're going to be constantly improving, I mean, you're going to mess up every now and then, but you got to be consistent, and disciplined. Because you hear it talked about all the time. It's like, well, I wish I had your motivation. It's like, well, if I just had the motivation to do this. Well, I don't know if really motivation I wouldn't say it doesn't exist, because I feel motivated sometimes.
Yeah.
But you can't rely strictly on motivation.
Yeah, discipline is much more powerful than
Because
motivation.
if you're relying strictly on motivation, you're not going to be successful, because you're not all the time motivated, right? I can be all the time disciplined.
Okay.
I mean, I can have my core values and I can follow them to a T. I can have this plan, I'm going to follow it to a T. But like I felt like last night I was motivated and I felt like I'd run through a brick wall. This morning I woke up and I felt like I was the complete opposite. Like I woke up at 10 o'clock this morning and I couldn't move. Like I was in shambles. Then I go back, like I'm sitting on the couch and I go back to sleep from 12 to 2. It's like like I was not motivated at all today, but I had the discipline to get up about 2 hours ago and I went and ran 2 miles, you know. Like I didn't want to. I wasn't motivated to go run that in 2 miles, but I was disciplined enough. It's like, well, if I don't do it right now, I'm going to have to do it in the freezing cold tonight once I get home. So, I mean, it's just after track practice, I mean, once I get home. So, I think you just need to set that goal, find a plan, and have the discipline to stick to it. I mean, in whatever you do, you need to be disciplined in it. And I think that's the number one thing if you're wanting to become, if you're wanting to self-improve or develop yourself, develop your skills, develop anything, you have to constantly do it, and you have to be disciplined. You have to set a plan, set that goal, make sure it's reasonable. Don't set an unreasonable goal, because if you set an unreasonable goal, you're never going to achieve it.
Yeah.
And you're just going to be constantly chasing. It's like, oh, it's so far away, I'm not going to be able to do this, so what's the point? Then you're going to give up, right? Set a goal that you know you can reach. Make it challenging. You don't want it to not be challenging, but you want to know that you can do it, and you need to have that plan and make sure you're disciplined enough to do it.
I think it's good to also have some benchmarks throughout your progress, so you can kind of lead yourself with some dopamine, little carrot and stick action.
Yep.
And once you reach those like kind of milestones that are I mean, you can kind of think of your discipline as your physical steps, and those milestones can be where you're stepping, and your goal is the peak of what you want to get to. And having those milestones will, I don't know, what's been a good milestone for your running?
For my running,
Yeah.
I would consider. I would consider. Well, I guess that would be the end of the goal. I don't know. I guess last night would have been a milestone for me.
And that was a lot of dopamine for you,
Yeah.
and it was a lot of motivation, like you said. Personally, a good milestone I've had was the day that I benched 225.
Mm-hmm.
And because, like, I could remember thinking whenever we first, like in middle school, when we were walking down to weight lift after school, I was benching like 65 pounds.
Yeah.
And, like, just looking at the older guys putting on 2 plates and doing 225.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, gosh, if I could just do 1 plate, then I could get to 225. And then
Yeah.
You hit those milestones, and they kind of give you a boost. But it's,
Yeah.
you can't break your arm patting yourself on the back. That's not good. But those milestones will definitely help you reach your long-term goal.
I know a big milestone for me is that I was wanting to get, when I started losing weight, I was wanting to be under 200 pounds by a certain month or whatever. And I ended up hitting it 2 months early.
That's
like
crazy.
Under 200 pounds 2 months early. But I will never forget that day that I stepped on the scale and I was 198 pounds.
I remember
Or
you stalled.
198 or like 199 or whatever. And I got on that weight, I got on that scale, and it said, the number started with a 1. I'm like, this is the first time since I was in middle school.
Yeah.
And I was 19 years old at the time when I stepped on that scale. I'm like, this is the first time since middle school when I was like 14 or like 12 or 13, since I've been under 200 pounds. And that was just a crazy experience for me, like a crazy milestone. Because I always told myself, I was like, well, if I can just get down to 225, I'll be happy. Let me get down to 225. Well, let me get down to 210. Well, let me get down to 200. Well, shoot, let me just get down to 175 and let's just stay there. Because, this is the best I've ever felt in my life at 175. But I'll never forget stepping on that scale and it saying 199. That was a big milestone for me. So I don't know if you should, for me, this is my experience. It might work differently for different people. But for me, I never set aside them benchmarks like you said. Or set aside those milestones. They just kind of naturally happened for me. Like last night, I didn't think, I wasn't going into that run like, this is going to be a big run for me. This is going to make me feel good. This is my mini goal, But it just happened to be a milestone. And for me, I feel like that's worked better in my life. Because if I'm going to reach that end goal, I'm just going to reach that end goal. For me, I never had like sub goals or little milestones or whatever.
Yeah.
But like you look back and you think that was a big moment. That was a big moment for me. I remember the first time I ran 5 miles. That was probably a milestone for me. First time I ran 5 miles. I remember the first time I ran the course that I basically run every day now, El Ranchito to Go Time and back. I remember that. That was my first 10K that I ever did.
I remember that too.
And we went and ate Mexican that night.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
Yeah.
Like I remember that, and that was just a crazy thing. So those are milestones, I guess. Those are benchmarks in your overall journey, but I never set them aside. I never looked like, well, this is going to be this or this is going to be that. It just kind of happened, So, but it may work for you,
Something that you did really well, and I remember talking to you when we were both in school, and it was earlier in your journey with running, And I was like, how can you do that every day? And I remember it had just snowed, and there were pictures of you running on Regis in the snow, and they were on Facebook. But I was blown away, and we were talking about it, and we were like, well, I've always had an addictive personality.
Yeah.
I just got addicted to something good.
Yeah.
And now I'm addicted to running. And so it's not always, sometimes it's not always the goals that you want that get you where you want to be. It's, sometimes it's different. And I think what you did really well is you found your good. Running was your good. And I think that made it easier for you to, and like you said, you've noticed growth in your personal life and how you treat people, and I'm guessing you kind of attribute that to running a lot, and that kind of made a personality change for you, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's not always what you kind of expect it to be. Like maybe if your goal is for weight loss, and you should actually focus more on running like you did, or something else like that, I guess. Find something you really do care about, and you'll find a lot of benefits from chasing that. I don't want to sound like a workaholic, which I probably do, because that's a lot of what I talk about on here. But like, work's changed so much about me. I've learned a lot, and it's definitely changed my personality, my attitude, and it makes other things in life a lot easier. Like, it's a lot easier for me to go lift now, and I'm not exactly sure why, but I put a lot of care into getting better at work and what I do, and I really seek out, and I work at all kinds of different shops. I'm in manufacturing, and I work at all kinds of different shops with other people, and like there's a machinist at the shop in Georgetown I work at, and I try to learn as much as I can from him. There's a welder there, and I try to learn as much as I can from him. And there's a place in Winchester we work at. There's a programmer, and I try to learn as much as I can from them. And I think I found something I care about, and it's just changed me as a person. It's kind of built up a little bit of discipline.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember vividly a conversation I had with somebody 2 years ago, and they're like, it's like, I'm always sad and depressed all the time. I'm like, I told them, I said, find something you like to do and do it every day. You know, just find something you like to do, whether it's productive, whether it's something not as productive, but find something. If you're sad and depressed, find something you like to do and do it every day. And I told him, I said, for me, it's running. I like to get out and run, and that's productive, and I go out and do it every day. And I don't know if they just couldn't understand that, or if they ever went and did it or not, but I remember looking at them, and I'm like, this wasn't you, by the way, if you thought this was
No.
you. But I remember, I'm like, dude, just find something you like to do and do it every day. Yeah. That was my advice to them. So, and for me, that was running, because I looked at it, because I always hated running, because I was fat and overweight and out of shape, but I always hated doing it. But I looked at it, and I'm like, well, I looked at it first as a way to improve myself, self-improvement. I'm like, well, if I can't give 15 minutes a day to this, I just told myself, I'm like, that's just selfish.
Yeah.
If I can't set aside 15 minutes a day to try to improve myself, to try to better myself in general, to lose this weight, to feel better, to look better, to feel happier, and I can't give myself 15 minutes a day to do that, who am I? You know, who am I to be that lazy, to be that selfish? You know, that's the conversations I'd have with myself. I mean, it might sound harsh, but
They're hard conversations.
I mean,
to have.
it's just what it was. I'm like, if I can't set aside 15 minutes a day, I mean, it's 15 minutes, you know, 15 minutes a day. If I can't set that aside to better myself. Who am I? But that goes with anything, you know. That goes with reading the Bible. That goes with praying. That goes with spending time with family. That goes with spending time building your relationships. That goes to spending time, with everything. I mean, it's a sacrifice, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a sacrifice. And for me, I've been better sacrificing my time to running than I have to some other things, And those are sections in my life that I probably need to improve on a little bit, because I feel like a lot of the times people see me or see my journey as like, man, you've done really good at this, you've done really good at that, but I don't know. I feel like that's the only thing in my life that I kind of felt that I've done good at. Because I feel like I can spend more time with my relationship with God. I feel like I can spend more time with my family and stuff like that. So I don't know, kind of interesting stuff. That
it is,
because you put so much. I mean, there's only 24 hours in a day, and you got to pick and choose what you're going to sacrifice. Well, you're going to sacrifice 15 minutes to go work out. You're going to go sacrifice 20 minutes to spend time with your family, or you're going to sit and be by yourself for this, or you're going to go spend time with this group of friends, you're going to spend time with this group of friends, and it's just, kind of all that back and forth, like, we talked about it, or I don't know if we talked about the choice, or we talked about Sunday night at youth group, talking about that we have the choice to do things, and let's make the right choices. So, and that goes all back to the self-improvement. I mean, you have the choice, you have the free will to do whatever you want. But if you're wanting to actually improve and actually better yourself, you got to make that choice first. You got to actually sit down and have that conversation. Well, here's my goal. Let's find a plan that'll match with this goal. Let's have the discipline, and let's choose to stick to that plan. And I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. I agree. I'm a goals person.
Mm-hmm.
I like goals. I kind of set goals with work. I find myself doing that often. So we provide industrial services, and I'll kind of set a goal. Anytime I find interest in something, like recently it was welding. I had an opportunity to do some welding, and I was like, it would be great if I myself could offer to my company, and therefore to other companies, the service of being able to weld. Mm-hmm. And I set that goal, and I took lunch breaks some days, and I would ask, obviously, for scrap steel and to use a welder, and I would sit there on a lunch break, and I would just practice welding on lunch.
Yeah.
And I'm not a great welder. I have no certification. I have no piece of paper. I haven't done a bend test or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if I needed to get some metal together and be able to throw it 10 feet and it not break, I'm your guy.
Yeah.
Like it ain't always gonna be pretty, and on site it ain't, but I can make it happen. Mm-hmm. And it's paid off on a couple jobs. I had to do some welding in West Virginia. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad either. It was good enough. It got the job done, and I grew a little bit with that, and that gave me some confidence. And I'm trying to get. I'm working on some safety stuff right now, getting trained in that, and I want to do some programming, some computer stuff. That's kind of the next thing I've got my eyes set on, and hopefully we get there.
Yeah.
And the ultimate goal for me is one day I want to have my own company.
Mm-hmm.
And do this kind of thing. And you.
Yes, me. We'll take a pee break real quick.
Let's take a pee break.
All right.
You make a call. All right, let's get back into this. We were talking about getting better, and
we got some scripture here.
Good stuff.
We were talking about self-improvement and really kind of the goals of how to self-improve. And I kind of like the way our guest last week, Andrew, said it. It's like, well, ultimately, you just got to give it all to God, right?
Yeah.
That's ultimately what you have to do. So I really, really like that. And he had an idea for me he sent me a text this morning. It's like, love your enemies. I'm like, that kind of hit with me. I'm like, that is a really good topic, because a lot of the times we feel like it's us against everybody, right?
Yeah.
We always like, well, I mean, you talked about it last week too, how your dad was kind of against the idea of a self-made man, right? But you always feel like it's just you against everyone. Everyone hates you, and you always have that thought, and that's not really realistic. But there is a lot of times that you deal with people that you don't like, right?
Yeah.
You deal with people that either hate you, or deal with people that you just don't get along with, or you deal with these type of people all the times, and I think ultimately, it's kind of hard to treat them the right way, right? If someone's got a grudge against you, it's so easy to have a grudge against them, right? And it's just kind of a interesting thing, but I think Jesus has a really good answer for this. About loving your enemies, and this we can tie this into back to self-improvement or whatever, and treating other people the right way, and treating other people with kindness and respect, and that comes along with bettering yourself process. But Matthew 5:43 through 48, Jesus is up on the mount, preaching the Sermon on the Mount here, the Mount, and he says in verse 43, he says, you have heard that it is said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. Right? I mean, love the people that love you and hate the people that hate you, right? That's what the world tells you to do. I mean, that's kind of what almost common sense tells you to do. Well, if this person doesn't like me, I'm not going to like them either. Verse 44, he says, but I tell you, love your enemy and pray for those who persecute you. This is crazy to me, crazy to think, because Jesus is sitting up here in front of all these people that, that's all they know is like, well, love the people that love you, hate the people that hate you. Well, Jesus is saying, love your enemies and pray for the people that put you down, pray for the people that persecute you, pray for the people that bully you and hurt you and all this stuff. Jesus is saying, love your enemy. That's just kind of a wild statement, right, that people hear, especially when all you've heard your life is hate the people that hate you. Treat others, if they treat you bad, eye for an eye, all that whole deal, right? And Jesus is saying, well, he said, I'm telling you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. He says in 45, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. He causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. Right? So Jesus is saying here, well, the sun's going to shine on them just like it's going to shine on you. Guess what? Guess what? Jesus loves that person. God loves that person just as much as he loves you, right? Jesus died on the cross for that person just as much as he died on the cross for you. So for you going around to treating these other people, treating someone that Jesus died for, right? Someone that Jesus loves wholeheartedly, if you're going to treat them like crap, you're going to put them down, you're going to hate them, what the heck? You look at it from that perspective, it's like, man, that doesn't feel right.
Making me feel really guilty for what I just told you on our pee break.
But
it's easy to do.
Because, I've done it too, right?
What good does it bring you to have an enemy?
I know it.
Literally nothing. There's nothing.
Because you hear all the time, especially when you're looking for jobs and stuff, it's like, well, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? So you always want to be making connections. You always want to be networking and building your connections with people. So what's the point of going and hating on people and just hating on things, right? There's no point in that. Because the sun rises on them, the rain falls on them, just the same the sun rises on you and the rain falls on you, right? The righteous and the unrighteous, Jesus says.
And to look at that metaphorically, everybody's got good days and bad days. You never know what kind of day somebody's having.
Yeah.
Ever.
If we look at verse 46, it says, if you love those who love you, what reward will you get? Are not even the tax collectors doing that? Tax collectors at the time, they're looked on as the scum of the earth, right? Because they're always
How
stealing.
much has changed?
They're always stealing, right? They'd say, well, you owe $40. They actually owe 20, and they just pocket the other 20, right?
Yeah.
They'd give the 20 to the king or whatever, and they'd pocket the other 20. He's saying, well, the tax collectors, they love the other tax collectors, right? So what reward will you get, right? He says, if you greet only your own people, what are you doing more than others? Do not even the pagans do that? Well, what's the point of just being nice to your own people, right? It's like, I try to make it a point of mine when I'm out in town running and see people walking on the street that I've never seen before. I always be like, hey, how's it going? You know, just to be friendly to them. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on? How's it going? Just a simple greeting like that. Because, I don't know, I just feel like that's the nice thing to do. Just always be greeting people with kindness, especially when you're running at night. And people might see that and they kind of think it's kind of scary, you know, some random person just running up behind them or running towards them. I'll be like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah, don't
just go on.
Don't yell out of my way to somebody on the sidewalk.
Yeah, I know it.
Might get you hurt.
Yeah, but he's saying don't even the pagans do that. Don't even the non-believers. Don't even all those other people. They greet their own people, right? Don't only greet your own people, greet everyone else too. He says in 48, says, this is a crazy challenge that we're never going to succeed. But he says in verse 48, it says, be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. Well, I can tell you right now, we're never going to be perfect because we sin, right? But I look at this, some people may look at this as like, well, he says be perfect. If we're not going to be perfect, then why even try, right? We're never going to be perfect. Well, I can counteract that and be like, well, 3 years ago, I never thought that I would be able to run 18 miles, you know? But you know what I did? I tried.
Mm-hmm.
I tried. And verse 48, it says, be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father was perfect. I read that as try.
See, that 3 years of not trying would have done a whole lot more harm than the 3 years of trying ever could have.
Yeah.
I get in my head about, like if I want to start something or if I want to start doing something, it's got to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had some gym equipment down in the basement, and I never really like worked out because I was like, I can't work out if I don't have this.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can't work out if I don't have this piece of equipment, or I don't have this many dumbbells, I don't have that. And like, just if I just tried, it would have been better than not.
Mm-hmm.
I talk a lot about the value of just showing up, and it's a whole lot more bad out of that same not trying.
Yeah.
Than you'll get in good of trying, but that good is still better than the bad.
Yeah. But it's just going back to that. I've talked about this on Sunday nights or Wednesday nights before. I can't quite remember. But going back to that, it's just try to be good. Try to be perfect, right? Because I mean, there's no point in this life, right? If we're just going to sit around and do nothing all day, there's no point in it, right? You have to find a purpose. You have to find what you want to do, what you're good at, and try at it, and try to better yourself, and try to succeed, and try to have that close relationship with Jesus, and try to improve your life in just whatever aspect it is. Whether you already have a good life, you know, you might want to try to. You already have a good family life. You already have a nice house. All these good things. Well, guess what? I guarantee you could get closer with your family. I guarantee you could, you know, maybe you might not be the healthiest. Maybe you might feel healthy, but, you know, you can always try to improve, try to get all this. Because I've preached on it. My only sermon I've done.
Complacency.
I preached on complacency. Because I feel like a lot of times we get content with where we're at, which is good. Contentment is unique.
Yeah.
It's good to be content. But I feel like a lot of times we get content with where we're at, and we sit in this contentment until a long enough time where it turns into complacency. And then that's just when we quit trying at all, is what complacency is. We just quit doing whatever we're supposed to be doing, and we just quit trying to improve, quit trying to do anything. And that's a dangerous line to be on, right? Because on one side, I mean, you don't want to be constantly going, oh, let me have the nicest car out there, and just constantly doing this and constantly trying to get the nicest things out there, because there's no point in that, right? Because that's just material things, right? But I'm not saying it's bad to have that. I'm just saying you don't want to put all these material things up, number one, on your priority, because you can't take that in the grave with you, right? I mean, it's going to be here. So what I read this as being perfect, I read that as trying to improve your spiritual life and trying to improve your relationships and trying to improve your body and trying to improve to be the best person that you can be. And try to be perfect. Just try. Because, I mean, we could sit here all day and talk about this stuff, but if we're not actually implementing it into our lives, one, that makes us sound like hypocrites. Well, it does make us hypocrites.
Yeah.
It makes us hypocrites. And two, we won't have any more experiences to share with it, right? If I'm going to talk about trying to reach this marathon goal and I don't do nothing to prepare for it, I'm just going to get up and go run this marathon in 3 hours and 30 minutes with no training. That's not going to happen. That's not possible, right? It's just not going to happen. I'm going to have to train because, I mean, I can get up and walk it. You know, it'd take me 6 hours or however long. I could walk it, but that's not the best I could do at it. I want to do the best I can do at it. And I feel like in this aspect of my life, I'm going for that. Other aspects, not as much. I mean, other people might feel like that too, of where like, well, I found this groove, I found this thing that I'm really good at, but there's other aspects in my life that's struggling, right?
I resonate with that.
And
always.
So I was like, well, I've tried in this section, but I'm not trying as hard as I should be in this other section. And other people might feel like that. I know that for me, that feeling's a lot for me sometimes. And just whatever, you know. So that might be something people can relate to. But what is it, verse 48? Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. You know, God is perfect. He doesn't have to try to be perfect. He just is. But I read that as try to do the best you can in whatever you're doing, because you were made in God's image, and try to be like Him. You know, try to have that relationship with Him. So,
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think just to get into the more how you do it, some good advice I've been given is to go first and go kind. Like you said, you make it a point whenever you run past people on the sidewalk, you try to say, hey, how are you? Or just, be kind to them and go first, because like I wouldn't say I have like, well, I don't know, talking to people is not my strong suit. Talking is not my strong suit. Kind of an awkward individual, but I've never regretted just being nice to somebody. But for some reason it's hard to do up until you do it. Like I'll see somebody in the morning at work, just, morning buddy, how you doing?
Yeah.
And like the payoff is a lot better to just do it.
Yeah.
Even if it feels like awkward for whatever reason to you, because I feel that way all the time.
I'm the same way.
And to never meet a stranger.
Yeah.
Like I joke with my boss, like everywhere we go. We did a company retreat to Great Wolf Lodge in Ohio, right next to Kings Island, and we brought all our families up there, and me and Raina got there, and we walk in, and like instantly I see Chris. He was in a hook fishing shirt, swimming trunks. He had the sunglasses on his head like he always does. And he's talking to some girl that works there at the hotel, and she's setting him up and like trying to get all of our rooms cleaned first. That way we can go ahead and check in. And like we ended up getting a free locker at the pool for like the whole trip.
Yeah.
For Raina's pump and stuff, and like he just doesn't meet strangers.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And he told me that, and like it really is how he is. And like people are nicer to him and he gets a lot of payoff just from going kind and going first.
Yeah. When I think of that, I think of my grandpa, because like
Pepper.
Yeah.
When
he was in the hospital, it's like he'd have these conversations with some of the nurses and stuff, and I'm like, dude, they got to go do their jobs, but he's just sitting there talking to them, just like trying to be friendly and make conversation and do all this stuff. This one nurse, she was I don't think she was a nurse, she was a therapist, came in, occupational therapist, and she came in and they talked for 30 minutes, just about random stuff. Not even like the stuff about his knee. Like they just talked for 30 minutes about this stuff, about where she was from and where she grew up and all this stuff, and where he grew up and about all the things he's done. I'm like,
they don't make them like they used to do.
I'm like, that's cool. Like I wish I could do that. I feel like I can do that. I
feel that way a lot.
Because you see that a lot of times, and I see it on campus many of times. You walk into a classroom, you sit down, and you don't know the person's name sitting next to you until 5 weeks in, until you finally get up the nerve or whatever to ask them, or actually say what's up to them, or say how's it going, And like, why is that? Why are we so scared to talk to people?
I don't get it. I'm so bad about it though.
Because it's like once I get going, I won't shut up. We've talked here for over an hour, right? Mm-hmm. And because we know each other, right? But why is it so hard to meet new people? Especially, I feel like people our age, right? We go to the gym, and there's everyone else in there.
By phones.
Everyone else is in there. They're doing the same thing as you are. You don't even say what's up to them, or hey, how's it going, or anything like that. Sometimes you be like, hey, are you still using this? And they'll kind of look up at you, and you're like,
and I gotta build that up.
Yeah, I know.
To ask somebody if they're still using the pull down.
Why is that? Why can't we just talk to people anymore?
I want to do tricep extensions right here, but you're like kind of close to it, and I can't tell. And usually I'm just like, nah.
But it's just like how you said, it's just that little bit of awkwardness. Then it pays off.
Once you get over it.
Once you get over the awkward.
It's always better. It's always better.
Yeah.
And like you can see that countless times. Mm-hmm. But it'll still be difficult. I think that goes with a lot of things.
Yeah.
You always feel better after you run, but
to get started, it sucks.
Getting started sucks. I'm always glad that I go to the gym and work out, but boy, sometimes it takes an act of Congress to get me there.
I know it. It's brutal. But, man. But it's just that whole thing with just getting started and just trying, right? Going back to our plan, setting that goal, finding your plan that aligns to that goal, finding the discipline to do it, and doing it and trying to do it.
Let's practice this.
Let's practice it. Let's do it.
Let's make something happen here. Next time we meet, I don't know how it's going to happen. It might be virtual. I've thought about doing solo episodes, just a couple of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how you feel about that. I don't know how they feel about that. But next time we meet, next time we speak on air, let's have 3 to 5 core values, personal core values.
Okay.
Because I still don't have core values.
I don't either.
And it's killing me. I'm thinking about it all the time at work, and I'm like, faith, family, God. I'm like, no, I can't do that.
It's taking crap.
Come on, Dad. Faith, family, integrity. That's what it was. I said faith, family, God. So, and I'm going to challenge anybody listening to drop your core values and kind of give us some inspiration.
Yeah.
Or maybe by the next time we have a podcast, if you don't have core values, next time you see our podcast, let us know your core values.
Yeah.
I'm curious. And I think that's a really big step in getting to where you want to be. Mm-hmm. So that's our challenge.
That's our challenge for next time.
We need to start doing homework.
I know it.
Bringing back results.
Well, we got any other topics you want to talk about?
I think that's all I had.
That's all I got too.
Well, buddy,
but
I'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I think we can. We've hit on some good stuff though. Just that constant growth, constant improvement is what I really wanted to hit on, because in that constant growth, you'll have little milestones like you talked about.
Yeah.
And those milestones will feel so great once you hit them. You don't even realize they happen. It just happens naturally. And I think that's the best way things can happen, is just when you just let God take over and just let his plan flow, and you're just kind of riding along with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way for things to happen. So,
God's got you.
yep. Give it all to him, and you'll be all right. So, we got anything else to add?
I think that's it. You want to give us an outro?
We'll get a little outro going.
A little outro action. I like it.
Oh, here we go. See if I remember how to play this. That ain't it.
I think I've got some buzz on it. I need to adjust it.
Yeah,
My action's really high.
Alrighty.
See you guys next time. We love you.
Jesus loves you. Be good to your brother.